Hi, today's topic, we're going to talk about part 2 of the shopping list. So in the previous topic, in the previous video, we have talked about two important topics. The first one is how to build up a check mark. So when I click on one of the items, I want to show the check mark, and when I click it again, I want to uncheck it. So this is the first critical point. And the second one, we have built up alert, and we have talked about how to transfer the typing context into the text we want to save in this shopping list. So let's see if we are typing an egg and add this item. It will show into our shopping list. But the thing is that if we try to terminate this app, and when we reload it again, okay, so the previous item we have added on this shopping list is no longer appear here. So why is that? It is because the context we typed before have not saved in the database, which means that when we reload this app, those data could not be get from the database, and it will just disappear forever. So into this topic, we are going to talk about how to use UserDefault to save data, and what's the limit, and why we use that. Okay, so firstly, if we want to use UserDefault to save data, we need to set up an object. So we could do, we could manipulate that object. Okay, watch me to do that. So I want to call this object default. And is it coming from user default standard? Okay, so what is user default standard? User default standard actually is a singleton of user default. So which means that whenever we pass this value to an object, to an user defined object, anything we change in this default, in this object, will change the context inside the standard. So it also means in each time when you call this standard, when you call this default, it will load all the data inside this user defaults database. So I call it database here, but actually do not treat it as a database. Because every time it does not only visit the reference you are pointing to, it will load all the data, which we call it plist. It will load all the data inside plist and find out the data you want. So sometimes this call is has very low efficiency. Okay, so this is the first thing. So there are three things we need to do if we want to use user default. The first thing I already did is generate this default object. And what you think is the second thing and third thing? It is very straightforward, right? So if you want to save data inside the user defaults database, first thing is every time when you generate a new item, when you add a new item, you need to put it inside the database. So watch me do this. Okay, so because we are trying to put an array inside of this defaults, so we are going to choose the second one, which is an array. And then we need to give a name, because inside the plist, data are saved in key value pair. So this key name will be used whenever you want to call the value inside of that key. So at this time, let's give it special name. Let's call it to do it. Okay. So now, because this inside closure, so we also need self. And I want to show you that there is one thing when we add things, when we try to save data inside defaults, is there are certain values could be saved in user default. So these are the values that could be saved. These are the data type. The data type it could save is int, float, boolean, double, and strings. Otherwise than this data type, if you want to customize a data type, it will not be saved here. So in summary, the user default could only save certain type of data. If you want to save customized type of data, like if you want to generate a class and then save an object based on that class, you need to use other method, not user default. Okay, so this is one thing I want to see when you try to save data by using user default. Okay, and after that, let's try to see if we can save those data. Okay, cool, it's showing up. Let's try to add one item here. Another item. Okay, so because I have not tell you how to reload this data, so it only save this data will be saved in database, but when you terminate this app, it will not show up again. But what I want to show you here is where it's saved and how we access to those data. So as you can see, there is one function called application did launched with options. So inside this application, if we add on this one line code, we could print out the data saved directory, which is this one. So try to copy this one into your terminal, and you will see the data inside here. So let's try to open it with our Finder. And as you can see, inside the library and inside preference, there is a file called plist file. So open it, and you can see the data I have saved here. So as I told you, inside the database, all the data are saved in key value pair. So this to-do is the key of our data here. And as you can see, add and add are the add-on items we just add inside our app. So now let's try to terminate this app and reload the data. Nothing happened, right? It is because when you reload the data, you have not updated the array. So it will still use the old array instead of using the data you have saved in user default. So how to fix this? Absolutely, we need to assign the defaults data into let's copy this name to make they are exactly same. Okay, by using this line of code, I drag the array outside of the database and force it to be and string array and then assign it to the object of my array. Let's try to run this again. Okay, perfect. So as you can see, whatever we saved in the database could show here. And when we terminate it and reload it, it will load those data. So, okay, so far we have finished how to use the user default. But there is also other small objects, small problems I want to point out. The first thing is, you see here, what if the first time I call this app and there is no key card to do it? So let's try. Okay, so it will throw out a fatal error. Why this happened? It is because the first time you call this to-do key, there's no value inside it. Because the first time we generate this to-do list is at the time we click on the Add Item button, and then it will save whatever inside my array into the to-do list, into the to-do key plist. Okay, so how to fix it? It's very simple. Just guard it with something else. And else, if the first time I load this array and the list is called to-do list, I need to firstly generate this to-do list. So this is the first time I save those data into my user default. Let's try this again. Okay, so now it no longer have the problem, and the array here is totally new. The to-do, because to-do list is a new key value pair plist, so it's totally new. And you will see it will work. Okay, and the next problem I want to point out is okay, so I need to reload this. So the next thing I want to point out is, if my array is very, very long and it comes out when I click on one of the row, you will see that there is another row be clicked because all my cells are reusable, right? So these two cells, probably they use the same cell and they are trying to when we reuse it, so that the check mark will be a messy. So in the next video, I will talk about how to generate an item to solve this problem. And because we have already generated a customized class, we need to use another storage structure to store those customized classes instead of using the user default. Okay, so that's it. That is today's topic. See you in the next video.